Tonight, I wanted to do some guided self-inquiry, and you may know that I like to do self-inquiry a little bit differently, and I want to really take you into a direct experience of what you actually are, to experience of reality tonight. And to do that, it's going to be really beneficial if you keep your eyes open while we're doing this. If your eyes drift close, what's going to happen is your mind is going to resist what you're hearing, and it's going to get you to close your eyes so that and drift off into a nice deep state so that you don't hear and actually directly experience. So if you can keep your eyes open and just as if you're listening like this now, then you're going to get so much more out of this. So self-inquiry is often misunderstood. So I'd just like to take you through this without, if you could just sort of set aside any ideas of what you think self-inquiry is and how it's done, and whether it's easy or not easy. I had some very big ideas about self-inquiry that it was difficult, and it's really just a looking and seeing. We're not going to be having to understand anything. So as you're sitting right now, we're going to ask the question, what really am I? Because that's what satsang is for, is to directly experience and then come to live as what we actually are. So we start with the question, what really am I? Most of us perhaps on this satsang have an understanding already that we are not a separate and limited self. But it always helps to have a direct experience and to take us deeper into that tonight. It's what I want to do. So when we ask the question, what really am I? Or what am I? Who am I? Whichever one you like. We're going to notice everything that shows up in response to that. Tonight we're going to look for the most, there's only one answer to that question that is going to be here all the time, and it will be reality. So it's worthwhile finding out what is the one answer to that question that's here all the time. Why is it worth finding that out? Well, because it's something, when we get to know that part of ourselves, it's really quite different to what we thought about ourselves, and we come to see it clearly, then we're going to experience a very different experience of our life, and we won't be able to fear our body going. We won't be able to suffer. So it's worthwhile putting some effort into really looking. So just because it's the permanent answer doesn't mean it's better. It doesn't mean it's the right answer either. We're not trying to reject any other answers at all. We're just going to take our attention towards something which is ever present but perhaps missed, overlooked by our attention going to the phenomena that are passing. So as you ask that question, probably the first thing that comes is your body is here, it's sitting in a room, wherever you're watching this. There may be phenomena going on inside your body and your mind, thoughts coming and going. There may be emotions coming up. There may be sensations in your body, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant sensations. And all of these are phenomena. So we're just going to distinguish now what a phenomena is. It's something that has a beginning and an ending, and only exists for a finite length of time. So there's phenomena that come really quickly, like thoughts, they come and go. There's things that last longer. Perhaps emotion seems to last longer. Our body as well is another phenomenon. It's not here permanently. And whatever sensation, any energy flowing, all of that is phenomenal. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that it's not going to bring us the lasting peace that we're looking for. And also, most importantly, this inability to suffer. So we're just noticing when we're sieving through these answers, whether they're phenomenal or whether they are the noumenon, which is that which cannot be perceived by your senses. It's just another name for awareness or the self or reality. And It just means that which is outside of ordinary human sense perception, but it is ever present. So there's your body, there's all the objects in the room that you're sitting in, there's whatever you're sitting on or laying on as you're listening. There's some empty space in the room that's not filled by objects. All of this is perceivable to you. You can recognize even empty space as you're sitting. You can notice the objects. Even your waking state that you're using to listen to this right now, these words are coming in as a vibration through your ears, your sense perception. Even your waking state is not permanent. It comes and goes. That is also a phenomena. And as you come to sort of recognize that these things are coming and going, then we're not going to struggle so much to see that which is always present. So keeping your eyes open, as I said, just to recognize I can perceive things inside my body, thoughts, feelings, emotions, energy. If I get an itch, I immediately know, or a pain. And you can perceive everything outside of your body, empty space as well. And all of this is coming and going. Even the empty space is only perceivable while the waking state is here. Once the waking state has gone in deep sleep, can you perceive any of this? Are you aware of thoughts, feelings, all of that in deep sleep? There's no sense perception, no mind activity at all in deep sleep. So all of this is phenomenal. Again, it's not wrong. We're just going to now take it to another level. So the only permanent answer to that question, what really am I, is this moment that is here right now. And it's often the simplest of answers that we overlook. But if we examine this moment, when does it ever actually leave? You know, this moment is here, and everything that is phenomenal is arising inside it. Your body is present in this moment. These words are happening inside this moment. Your inquiry, your following along is happening. All the objects are appearing in the room. In the room even that you're sitting in is appearing inside this moment. Now, you can automatically perceive this moment, but it is not in the same way that you're looking at your body. You cannot see this moment with your eyes. It doesn't sound like anything. It doesn't have any tangible quality at all. And yet, it is the one thing that is here all the time. Even when the waking state is gone and your body is lying in bed tonight, this moment is happening still. It's continuous. And if we check out the criteria for this moment, does it have a finite lifespan like a phenomenon? Well, when does this moment actually come to an end? If we just take a few moments now to wait and see when this now moment ends and another moment begins. Just waiting. When is this moment going to come to an end? There is something continuous about this moment. If I look at my clock over there, I could say there's lots of moments, but that's on the clock. My actual experience is that it's continuous and unbroken. There's something continuous about this moment. And where does it, how far does this moment reach? It's obviously bigger than the room that you're sitting in. And if your body was to get up and walk across the street, would you have lost this moment? Where would you get to the end of this moment? Does it have any edges at all? And does it have anywhere that it stops? Is it different if I went and walked into the next room to where I'm sitting now? Would it be different, the moment, than what I'm experiencing right now? Is it coming and going, this moment? And when you look really at what this moment is, it's intangible, it's indescribable. What it actually is, we don't know. We know what's appearing inside this moment, all of this phenomena. But what about this moment itself? What can you say about it other than its present nature, that it's here? So perhaps the thing that we least pay attention to as human beings is the one thing that's constant in our experience. Even when you're asleep at night, even in deep meditation, your body's sitting there, you've gone into a really deep state, or you're in a lot of pain, or there's a strong emotion coming up, then it's all happening inside this moment. What does this moment need? What does it want? Is it suffering, this moment? It seems almost strange to ask that question. So within 10 minutes, you've come to perceive your Buddha nature just like that, the intangible, formless reality. So why do we all forget that? Why do we go back to focusing on phenomena? Will this just be a nice experience for you? And then 10 minutes after satsang's finished, attention's back to the thoughts in our head, or maybe even already. It's because as human beings we make a massive assumption that simply isn't true. Our assumption is this, and I did it as well. It is that the moment that this is happening in, all this phenomena is coming and going in, is inert and just dead. It's just a necessary construct for all this to arise in. And the intelligence that is me is actually the body and the mind. That is where the intelligence is, where the sentience is. Because of that assumption, all of our attention goes to our body, mind, always. But it's actually completely the opposite. Your body and your mind are just inert and powerless of themselves. They are like saying, it's like getting in your car and going for a drive and saying that your car is intelligent, more intelligent than you. Some cars are quite intelligent these days, but if we can recognize that the sentience itself is actually this moment, that what we perhaps thought was dead, empty space is pure intelligence itself, sentience, that the moment itself is alive and awake and shining through a human being, and starts to think about itself as a human being, and then begins to think that here is where the intelligence is in your body mind. But that is an effect of, it is a reflection of the light, the intelligence that is this moment, completely intangible and yet obviously here, permanent, unchanging, absolutely already not suffering. So everywhere, all the time. Where does this moment stop? If you could somehow go to the other side of the universe, when would you get to the end of this moment? When would it become the next moment? Is that really such a thing possible even? Or is that just a thought we've had inside our head? So if we can come to see that our assumption that the intelligence is actually in the body mind, then you can begin to put more attention on the actual real you, which is this intangible, formless you. There's nothing wrong with having a body and mind, and you can enjoy that once you realize what you actually are, that the Buddha nature, this Shiva being, is this intangible reality that's present, and it's continuous, and it is infinite. It doesn't have any edges. Wherever in the world you're watching this right now, you have the same feeling I do right now. This moment is here. Cannot say where it is, cannot say really what it is. It's a mystery. and yet it's constantly here. We pay no attention at all because we think it's dead or inert or just a necessary space for all this to appear in. But could any of this, including your body, be here without that moment for it to appear in? Maybe the sentience itself is using this body-mind vehicle to perceive itself, to come to understand itself. So if you can recognize that what you are is not at all what you thought you were, recognize that the assumption that we've had it has really brought our attention to consistently come back. So you've just seen the ultimate nature of reality. You've just seen what you really are is pure sentience without any form, appearing as all of these bodies, as all of these objects, as the house, the place you're sitting in, wherever you're watching this, as the whole planet, as the whole cosmos, appearing as all of this. But the whole universe is dependent on this moment for it to appear inside of. It cannot be overstated how important it is to put attention on this and to realize that we've had it backwards. That actually my body and mind is the least intelligent part of me as reality. That whatever thoughts I'm believing about myself are going to filter this expression, water it down of this pure sentience itself, the light of our real being. So why are we going to forget this afterwards? Why does this amnesia come back? Why do we go back to our thoughts? Why is this just an experience that I had in Satsang? Why are we not constantly aware of this moment? It's really just the force of habit, of saying that phenomena are more important because they're moving, they're changing, they're catching attention. So those that are going to wake up fully, it's entirely in your control right now. If you recognize what is the most important thing to recognize, what you've seen, not seen with your eyes, you've seen it somehow, haven't you? You've seen that this moment is here. You're recognizing it inside without your human senses. With your senses, you can perceive all the objects appearing inside this moment. But this moment itself, how are you recognizing that? It's just automatic and obvious that it is here. So it's not difficult to recognize the self. You've just done it, still noticing this moment and all the ways it's appearing. So it's up to each one of us then to remember this most important thing. And those that come out of this illusion completely are the ones that really do whatever it takes to remember this. Even if you just put a moment of attention now on the formless moment that all this is happening in, it's completely insubstantial, isn't it? Easy to overlook and miss if your attention is trained to go to phenomena. But if you notice how your body begins to feel when you focus on this moment, not with your eyes or your ears, just a recognition that it's here, your body is going to begin to feel really, really good the longer you keep your focus on this. That's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because this is the only permanent answer. The waking state is going to come and go. Even your body is going to come and go. There's nothing phenomenal about you that you get to keep. It doesn't mean that phenomena are bad or a waste of time, but just to recognize where they come from and what those phenomena actually are. Can anything exist without this moment for it to exist in? And if the answer is no, then what really is all this? Is it really here separate and independent to this moment? If the moment that's happening continuously, unending, is the necessary thing for all this to arise in, is all this really different to it anyway? So just coming to recognize how important this is to keep bringing your attention back to this and to keep questioning everything that seems to happen. Is it happening to this moment? Is it relevant to what the real me is? Or is it happening to the body-mind? Is it a problem only for the body-mind? If we can sort through those and decide what is really our issue, then we're going to get a lot clearer, a lot quicker. So remembering what you need to remember, and I'm not talking about up here remembering, but recognizing what is the most important part of you. Find out now and bring your attention back again and again to that part of you which is eternal, immortal, unchanging, unending. It's absolutely incapable of suffering. It is absolutely not inert and insentient. It is the fullest insubstantial thing you'll ever find. And it will shower your life with wonderful effects of having realized this. How to realize it, just to keep seeing it again and again and again, and recognizing that is where the intelligence is, that's where the power is, that's where your real home is. And it's just a shift of focus to come to recognize this. And the more that you notice this, the more that it's going to become easier and easier. Attention will just go back to it automatically after a while. And whatever phenomena arises, it's just happening inside this moment. You don't have any problem with the chair that you're sitting on. It's just a chair, it's just an object. And your thoughts will be like this too, with your attention on the formless reality that is here. Thoughts will just be another object appearing, another phenomena appearing, coming and going inside you. And the vastness of your being, which is infinite. Again, just checking, is it still here? Can it leave this moment? Even if your attention goes back to thoughts, or to an emotion, or to a noise, has this moment left? Does it even need your attention to be on it? Is it trying to wake up? Is it trying to transcend the mind? Is it really trying to pull itself out of karma? And is it blocked? Or can it get stuck? Or are all of these challenges for your mind and not for you, the real self that you are? Does it have any issues at all? Does it even need to be recognized? Or is it already perfectly complete and whole? So amazingly, we've had it backwards as human beings. The most important thing is the least substantial thing about you. And as you keep your attention on that, again, just recognizing this moment, recognizing that you notice it's here effortlessly. You didn't have to do 10 years of meditation to recognize this moment, did you? It's obvious. Already you recognize your own Buddha nature. Already, just like that. There's something formless about you. And coming to see that it's not over there and it's not over here, this moment. It doesn't have a location like your body does. You can't say this moment is here and not over there. You can't say it goes halfway to this room and then it stops. If I asked every single person watching this, are you recognizing, is your body sitting inside this moment, wherever you're watching this? The answer would be yes. So are there lots of moments, or is there just one eternal moment that's just constant and infinite? Even if you went to the furthest reaches of the galaxy, it'd still be happening inside this moment, just like you're sitting here now listening to this. It's so important to bring attention back to this and to recognize this consciously with our eyes open, and to come to see perhaps what your mind hasn't wanted you to fully absorb, that it doesn't have any power to cause anything. The power is you, the formless reality. when it appears as a human being, it has the capacity to think about itself, and it begins to think, I am here. The formless moment says, I am here, I exist. And we take that to mean this, I exist, this is me, this body. But that statement should mean something very different to you now. When you say, I'm here, I am, you're actually voicing for this eternal moment that will never, ever come to an end. It doesn't have any beginnings or any endings at all. It's never going to grow old and die. And it's not, like our mind says, boring and dull. Those are ideas happening in a head about this moment rather than the actual experience. Just to even bring your attention to it for a while, you should begin to experience something very different to what you have perhaps experienced before. And I really want you to see how easy it is to see this. You recognize this moment in its formless nature, your real being, within 10 minutes of starting this. And anytime you look for it, it is here all the time. The only thing to do then, the only thing that we need to work towards really is to keep our attention to go back to this as often as possible. Noticing that as human beings, we have a tendency to allow our attention to go back to phenomena, usually thoughts. But to make an effort to bring attention back to what is actually the truest part of our being. And it's okay to enjoy how that feels. If your mind is freaked out by this, it's understandable, because it is not at all what mind thinks we are. Even if mind thinks about the formless reality of your being, it's not at all anything exactly like experiencing it like we're doing. And how are you actually perceiving this moment? How are you recognizing that it's here? It's not something you can grab, is it? And it's invisible. You can't see it with your eyes. You can think about this moment, but it's not the same as the direct knowing that it's here. So there must be some faculty already outside of your body mind that is recognizing this moment. Only something intangible and formless can recognize something intangible and formless. Instinctively, when I ask you where this moment ends, if you look, you'll say, I can't find where it ends. I don't know how far it goes. It just seems to go on forever. And if I ask you when it began, well, it was kind of always here. It was here before anything else arose in it. By its very nature, it has to be here first. So the sense of time comes, and beginning and endings comes after this. This is always here, always present. It's worth putting attention on this as much as you can. Not making it hard work, but just coming to recognize what you really are. Not at all what we expected, perhaps, but so worth the effort to bring attention back, knowing that attention is going to wander. That's its job in a way. Just a few seconds of consciously recognizing the infinite silence of this moment is atomically powerful for shifting blockages, doubts, limiting beliefs in the body-mind, clearing out the effects of the beliefs we've had about ourselves. So in the end, whether your eyes are open or closed makes no difference. This moment is always present. It's the only thing that lasts forever. Everything else is going to go. Anything that you're perceiving right now, you will not be able to perceive when your body's gone. So even all of the objects, every sense perception, thoughts, and everything. So it's worthwhile spending time and just noticing this. I hope you've come to see how easy it is to see it. And that the only issue we have as human beings is that perhaps we have to put some consistency in and bringing our attention back to this. Just taking a moment now to recognize this moment, this formless reality in which this is appearing. Does it want or need anything? Is it lacking anything at all? Where exactly is this moment? There's a sense that it's here, but can you actually pin it down to a location? Or is it more like just everywhere? It's not in any particular place. It's not here or over there. There's not more of it in one country and less in the other. Is it changing this moment? Everything appearing in this moment is constantly in change. But is the moment itself, the formless substance behind all of this, is that changing? Is it becoming anything? Is it trying to reach enlightenment and trying to recognize itself? You could say yes, in a particular way, through the human form, it's trying to do that. But without a human body present, does it even need to do that? Does it need to define itself, recognize itself, understand itself? What can block you from seeing this? Even if attention goes back to thoughts, to blockages, to doubts or fears, has it gone? Or is attention happening inside this moment? Moving around, looking at all the different phenomena in here, out there. Even in here and out there are encapsulated in this moment. So I hope you've come to see how easy it is to see this, and also how important it really is to bring attention back to this. And to really burst through some beliefs, hopefully, that it's hard to recognize yourself because you've just done it. The only permanent answer is the truest version of you. There's also your phenomenal self, and that's fine. But get to know the noumenon, which is the real you, the formless reality, before the body goes. If I get to know it now, and then you can relax and enjoy the rest of your bodily existence without any fear or suffering or lack. At some point, you've recognized your Buddha nature right now, the highest stateless state of all. And whether your attention wanders and you forget this after satsang, or whether somehow some fire is lit inside you through this seeing to remember this until it's effortless to notice it. Just like right now, it may be effortless to notice a phenomena, and it may take a little effort to notice it. If you turn that around through bringing attention back to it, at some point it'll be automatic and effortless to notice the formlessness first, and all the phenomena will just happen by themselves inside this moment, as they always have been doing. Just spontaneously they'll move as they need to move, the phenomena. And even if attention does wander and you forget to look at this again for a while, at some point you will come back to this. And at some point a fire will light inside you, being that it's really important for me to remember this. This is the most important thing for me. It doesn't mean you turn away from life, from all the phenomena. You can still do all of that. Just to notice while you're walking around the supermarket, the moment that the supermarket is appearing in, or while you're driving, the moment that your car and the road and all of it is appearing in. Wherever you're doing, you can bring your attention, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can bring your attention back to this. Just every now and again, brief checking in, noticing, recognizing. It's always here. It's dependable. And it is the real power behind everything. Every phenomena is powerless. It's just an appearance rising in this. And you are no more diminished at all than when your body goes. Come to clearly recognize beforehand, everything is animated and given life because of this. So self-inquiry isn't difficult. It's just a looking and a recognizing and a sieving of the answers. Which answers is it important for me to put focus on, and which ones am I putting perhaps too much focus on already? And turning that gradually around to finding the only permanent part of you. Okay, so we'll open it up if anybody wants to ask a question or to share an experience, or just to chat about their experience of the self-inquiry. If you want to ask a question, can you raise your hand electronically by going down to the bottom of your screen, clicking on participants, and at the bottom of that there is an option to raise your hand, and it will let me know that you want to ask a question or to share something. While we're waiting for questions, we can just bring our attention back again to this now moment, checking it's here still, hasn't disappeared. Perhaps attention had disappeared from it, had gone somewhere else, back to a phenomena happening inside. Nobody needs to ask a question or share. Are we all too zoned out after that? You're just noticing as well how attention tends to wander from that, disappear back into the phenomena of thoughts. Even to recognize the experience, yeah, I perceived this now moment, I did it here, like me, that we may have brought our seeing of the everywhereness of this moment back to our personal self here, to that which has a location. Then you can begin to see even that experience is seeing an epiphany is happening inside this moment. Lovely. Gaina, would you like to ask a question?
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can.
Hi. So my eyes did close, I have to be honest, quite a bit. That sounds like don't close my eyes, don't close my eyes.
It is very relaxing on the body though, isn't it?
I'll have to listen back, but
yeah, it's some matchsticks next time, yeah.
I've been thinking a little bit more about, so yeah, I've been thinking about what am I and what's all this really, what is reality, and solid things seeming solid, because I thought the other day, I've heard you talk about it a lot of times about things, only being solid for our human senses, but then I think I've not really sunk in, and so I wondered if you could just go through that again a little bit more, just so I can just sink in a little bit further, because I just heard you, I think I've heard you say it lots of times, but then I don't know, I really heard it the other day, and I was like, oh yeah.
It never hurts to hear it again, does it? Because it's so contrary to what we're taught, that everything that seems solid is actually made of this moment, this now moment, sort of vibrating, condensed down into something that appears and feels solid. You know, how can this chair that I'm sitting on be made of this insubstantial, formless moment? Like, you know, if that's true, why how can I sit on this chair? But it's when it begins to vibrate, you know, the moment itself is completely still, isn't it? It's not doing anything at all, and it is vibration begins to happen. It's just continuous, and some of those vibrations become, you know, really, really high. So we might call those gases, and it's when they begin to slow down, we'll call them liquid. And then when the vibration is really much slower, it appears as a solid, but only solid relative to another solid object. You know, if you didn't have any physical senses, would you know if anything was solid? If you didn't have a body, would you know if anything was solid, liquid, or gas? You know, it takes a whole new dimension then, doesn't it? After you recognize, but only when I've got a body can I say that this chair is solid and this air that I'm breathing in is not solid. Suddenly those categories become applicable then, don't they? The whole world of changing states and everything. But anything that even is a solid, even at room temperature, if you give it enough energy, it will become, it'll change state. Just like if you cool down the air in this room enough, it'll become liquid. You'll have to really slow down the vibration, but it'll become liquid. You know, even the nitrogen in this air, you know, they actually use liquid nitrogen to cool things down, to keep them cold at really low temperatures. So solid is more, it's given an absolute nature in our consciousness, in our vocabulary, isn't it? Things are solid and that's that. But I learned very quickly as a scientist, nothing is really only solid, a liquid or a gas. And solid in compared, you know, how do we define solid? Well, really, it's the fact that we can't put our hand through it like we can the air. So once we seemingly have a solid body, this whole category of solid or tangible or intangible becomes relevant then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. That's. I think I just need. I think the thing that puzzles me sometimes when I listen to you talk about it is about not having a human, but you know, if we didn't have the body.
But at nighttime, in deep sleep at nighttime, when you're not using any of your body at all, right? In the dream state, there's some activity going on here, isn't there? There's objects in there, seemingly solid objects. But are they really solid? They seem real in your dream, right? You even, if you run and jump off a cliff in a dream at nighttime, you might even feel fear in the stomach because you're sure you're going to hit the solid ground at the bottom. Is it really solid? You know, so just kind of really extending that question into the waking state, which is given the supreme reality, isn't it? The waking state is seen as much more real than the dream state, and even more that's more real than the deep sleep. But is that really the ultimate reality? You know.
Okay.
It's enough to be interested in this as you are, and to say, you know, tell me again, just to listen to it again. And when it becomes familiar, suddenly it become obviously true. Not through any working it out up here. Like all of this phenomenal world is gone in deep sleep. You don't even know you have a body then, do you? Not aware of time and space, not aware of any sense perception. All of it has gone.
Yeah.
But the potential for imagining objects is still there. The seed for it is still there. That's why when the waking state comes back, we feel that we're back and the world is there. You know, we don't ever question where did it go when I was asleep, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I just need to, like you said, just listen again and again, and
Yeah.
Starting to kind of, because today I was kind of thinking, well, what is solid anyway? You know, well, I've asked that question, what's solid, but I was thinking, what is solid anyway? And it's just a word, and it's the meaning that we give to that word, and so I have been contemplating that, so that'll help.
That's
take
good.
that deeper.
It's good to hear it again, because it goes.
Yeah.
It's not our normal way of thinking as a human being. So very good. Thank you for asking. Okay. Barbara.
Hello.
Hello.
I was wanting just to ask a question about the experience of, as you, the one moment thing. As soon as I can feel that the consciousness is sort of drifting, why am I using fancy words? You know, when you're drifting into that deep state. As soon as that happens, and it's always happened for a very long time, although it's easier to stay with you now.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately the body's doing all sorts of stuff. My head's banging, my legs are jumping around, I'm feeling itchy, I'm feeling cold, I'm feeling hot, I'm feeling cold again. And it's like as if the body is just trying to come to the forefront, is what I want to say. I don't know how to deal with all the different sensations that come up in the body.
Is it only when you're sat in satsang like this, or is it, you know, when you're doing any self-inquiry, or does it happen at other times?
No, I would say it was mostly in satsang with you.
I think your mind's allergic to me, huh? Like, don't listen, no matter what you do.
Oh, dear.
It's if you recognize that it's easy to recognize yourself, you know, if you really start to experience, actually, I've just noticed the Buddha nature already. I didn't, you know, there's a huge myth in the human consciousness that it's hard to see it, and it only happens for a few beings. But if you notice this moment, that's the formless reality. Right? The only difference between the actual Buddha and someone who's recognizing it now is that the Buddha was looking at it again and again and again until it became effortless, to automatic, to recognize that. The main focus was on that. So something inside each of us as human beings does not want you to hear that. You know, that in 10 minutes or less, we went right to the fullest experience a human being can have. You know, and so because it breaks down, it goes completely against a lot of ideas we have in our consciousness, that awakening is hard, that it takes a long time, that it only happens to a few beings that have done something different to what most of us have done, or they're capable of doing something that we can't. There's a lot of programming. Add to that, most of us have got a long history of trying to find reality and not succeeding, because we're trying to do it as a someone. So our ego, our mind, automatically tries to filter out of our experience anything that goes against what we believe to be true. That's its job. There's all this stimuli coming at us, and it wants to filter the other by importance. So anything that contradicts what we believe to be true about ourselves or the world is excluded from our memory of, you know, from our experience in that moment. So something is really hitting the panic button here, going, this does not agree with all of my beliefs, you know, that I can just sit here on the sofa and wake up, you know, recognize the ultimate reality. It goes against the grain. So it's the resistance is trying to kind of divert attention to something else. First, it was doing it by, here, have this nice blissful state while Helen's talking. Yeah, gone. Yeah. But now you're getting wise to that. So it's like, oh, you've got an itch, a pain, need to move something, need a cup of tea, need the bathroom, you know, what did we have for dinner last night? Did I forget to turn the oven off? You know, all that stuff starts happening. the moment we start self-inquiry. Something is like, look over there, don't look here, don't follow along. But you're recognizing that it's more, ego's running out of tricks. All these things have distracted us in the past, or we meant to be in satsang and then we accidentally just completely forgot. And it's only later when we see it and you go, gosh, there was a satsang tonight. How did I miss that? So all of this is playing to make sure that we don't experience what we actually are, and also how easy it can be to see that. It's not that ego is evil or something. It's just sorting by what's relevant, and it doesn't think a direct experience of reality is relevant to the belief that it's hard to see what you are. It's going to filter out what is not important, and it thinks this is not important for maintaining these beliefs. It's going to accept evidence that agrees with its beliefs. So of course, this is about as direct contradiction as you can get to those beliefs, and to sitting, looking, experiencing, oh, that's what I am. So I think that's what's happening.
There's nothing to be done and no one to do it, but I mean, there's nothing that can be done about what do you do with it? Because the whole impulse is to disappear, and then there's no, I'll be here, I'm gonna stay, I've got to be here, I've got to listen to this. And then the body starts, and you feel like you've been plugged into the electricity sort of thing.
It's just the energy that begins to flow is much stronger when you're really directly perceiving what you actually are, because it's no longer coming through these beliefs. It's a direct experience, and it's got to kind of try to flow through the body that's actually living the effects of all these beliefs. So it's like electric current trying to flow through this almost broken wire with all these resistances and things happening. When I realized what was happening, I began to just stand up. I would watch Muji on the laptop, but I'd just stand up, so I couldn't go into a deep state. I'd have to stay listening, and I'd turn my phone off, because I really want to do this invitation, that I really want to do this. Next thing I know, I'm flicking through Facebook, and I'm like, how did that happen? It's just recognizing where it's playing, and once you recognize it, it has no power over you. Then you see the difference.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, just to be aware, and not to say that ego is bad because it's trying to distract you. It's just trying to keep your beliefs intact, because that's how it thinks it keeps you safe. So we're all going to experience some amount of resistance to something as direct as this, and this is as direct as it gets. It's like, I really don't want to listen to something. Inside is like, don't listen, whatever you do. It's just to notice it won't be the effect of it then. Lovely. Thank you. Stefan?
Hi, Helen.
Hiya, how are you doing?
All right. And hello, everybody else. It's just an observation, actually. A couple of nights ago, I was having a dream. From what I can remember, it wasn't a very pleasant one. But at one point of the dream, I was in this room, and it was like when I was apprentice. I was apprenticed in printing trade. And in those days, we all worked at these benches, these wooden benches. And it was just like that. I was in the workshop again, with all these benches around me. But I realized suddenly, oh, I'm dreaming now. So let me have a look around me. I know the idea that you make up a world in a dream, which is similar to the world you make up here. So what I did is I looked around and I looked at the detail in the workshop, and I looked at the benches, and I could see the grain of the wood. So I was thinking, well, that's pretty clever. I've created this, but I've created every little bit of grain in that wood. And it just made me think, I don't know if I thought this in the dream or afterwards, that, you know, I can create this complicated world in a dream. So yeah, maybe I can create the complicated world that I'm living in now, or
Yeah.
I think I'm living in. So that was really all I had to say. Really.
It's really good because it begins to become more obvious, hopefully, that there is this dream state going on with our eyes open. Yeah. It's good. It's good just to start to recognize it might not be how I think it is. Yeah.
So I thought that was useful.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you.
I might be making progress.
Absolutely. Just to even want to see, it's already too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Eileen?
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
I'm a pretty new student here, so forgive me if I'm...
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just wondering, my question was, how can I be sure I'm noticing presence from that space of empty awareness versus from the body-mind? And does that matter?
It really does, because
Yeah,
it's a really good question.
I'm in?
Yeah.
I want to be in the awareness, but I tend to think I'm still sitting here in mind. I guess that's what I'm wondering, the distinction.
Well, it's a look at how am I recognizing that, you know, and this is, I put some attention on this myself. Because the assumption is that I'm looking at I'm recognizing this moment from here, from the body mind, and that'll be continuous unless we investigate it. Everything is always kind of brought back to here, isn't it? Whatever we experience is experienced from here. But
Right.
as you said, the awareness, this moment, is not like that. So we can really just put some attention on how are we recognizing it? Because if you can prove to yourself inside your own direct experience that I'm not using any part of my body and mind to recognize this moment, that what the outcome of that is going to be a knowing that grows inside. And it can either suddenly explode all at once, or for me, it was just a gradual, increasingly more and more obvious that I'm looking at this moment from this moment, or I'm recognizing awareness with awareness, or whichever way. So if we look at, well, am I recognizing awareness with my senses? You know, am I using my senses? Hopefully it's fairly clear that, you know, awareness doesn't look like anything. I can't see it with my eyes. It's not making any noise. It doesn't smell like anything. It doesn't have any texture. It doesn't taste like anything. So it's pretty easy to say, okay, I'm not using my senses at all. Can I also then be using my mind to recognize awareness, and which is probably the most important question to deduce? So what happens when you ask that question? What if we can do it now, if you don't mind, just to do you get a sense of am I using, what happens when you ask the question, am I using my mind to notice the awareness?
Yeah, I tend to think, am I thinking about this?
Mm-hmm.
And
See,
sort of empty my mind, like I need to do that. So then I don't know, am I caught back in the loop of body mind doing?
So which is here first, the thought or the awareness? Which must be here first?
Awareness.
So you're pretty sure about that? Yeah. Can you have a thought? Can there be a thought or even a mind without awareness present first?
No.
So like we were saying, everything that appears in this moment is dependent on this moment for its existence. So can anything that arises after this moment, later, can it perceive this moment? Can we use the mind to recognize awareness? And we can use the mind to think about awareness. But when I ask you right now, are you aware? It's not a thinking process, is it? It's just a knowing, direct, yes, I am, a looking and seeing.
Yeah.
That's not a thinking process. We may have the thought straight after, oh, I'm recognizing awareness from awareness.
Right.
But before that, there's a direct seeing, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. How that is, we may not even know. We may not consciously come to see in that moment. Awareness is recognizing itself. But it's enough to break down this assumption by proving each time that I'm not using my mind to recognize awareness. And I'm not using my senses, not using any part of my body at all. Because when that becomes obvious and you've looked again and again and again, this is what I did about 150 million times, my identity began to shift. It began to become more and more obvious. There wasn't any final moment, but there was just a knowingness that grew, that I'm already beyond the body, looking at the body mind from the awareness. That my identity, what I knew myself to be before this, was I am someone noticing awareness. There's a kind of an unconscious assumption we all have, isn't there?
Right, right.
And as you start to look like this, it begins to break that down.
That's really helpful. I think what happens for me is I go to the noticing and then my mind kicks in and says, oh, you're not doing it right. Oh, that's not, you know what I mean? Then the dialogue starts about what just happened.
Yeah. So if you recognize that it's both, you can directly recognize awareness. It's a direct seeing, and also think about awareness. Usually they're both happening at the same time, but attention only goes to, mind says, which one is it? Which one am I doing?
Right.
And it obviously there's thoughts there, so it concludes I must be using my mind to see the awareness. But it could be that both are happening at the same time. There's a direct recognition. Am I aware right now? Yes, I am. And also mind goes, yes, I am. Mind, we use our mind then to think about what we've just seen.
Right.
So it's only difficult when we're trying to pick which one is it of the two options, when really it's both. Can you get a sense? There's nothing wrong with thinking about it. It's just to be clear that the direct seeing happens first, instantaneously. You just know, don't you? You know you exist. You don't have to think about, do I exist? It's just, you just know immediately.
Right.
Very good question. Very
Too
good.
simple. Too simple. That's the keeps coming back. It's So coming back to the simple. Yes.
Yeah. Just to look and see, how am I actually recognizing it and proving it to yourself in your experience by doing perhaps what we've just done over and over again. After the 100th time, and it only took a few seconds, you can do it while you're driving even, or walking around. Just to keep doing that until it becomes so obvious that you're not using your mind to recognize awareness. And as you said so clearly, mind can't recognize awareness because awareness is here first. Awareness is seeing mind, not the other way around. That'll just become so powerfully obvious through doing what we've just done again. That actually looking and seeing, thinking about it up here is not gonna. It's only going to sustain the sense that I'm here, only here. I'm looking at the awareness from here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good. I love these questions. They're straight to the point, straight to the most direct root of suffering.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
Steve, last but not least. Are you still with us, Steve? Where are you? Oh, yeah, there you are.
I'm talking to myself here. I say I will listen to what you were talking about, but I was drifting. My eyes are wide open, but I was drifting. And I got the gist of it. Well, the moment being more of an expansive thing than just a. But as I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, after watch this, I have to do it again, isn't it? Because my mind is not sitting on it at all.
Just like we're saying with Barbara, there's going to be some resistance, isn't there? There's going to be something that wants you to not listen.
Maybe so, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why this is brilliant, because you can put it back on again.
Yeah.
Do it again. And I'm really getting into that moment, listening to it again. It's a totally different thing here. It's that second time around.
Yeah.
But afternoon I was doing something else. I've been with causality. I've been looking at that.
Mhm.
And what's come up now? The question that's resounded in my head is nothing to do with any of these things. I'm thinking, is this another way of diverting it? You know, I don't know. I thought it's there, so it's nothing to do with what we've been talking about. It was something about. I've heard it before, but you said it the other night. And it stuck in my mind about when you're in deep sleep. You wake up, you say, I've had a nice sleep, you know, and you say, well, how do you know that if you haven't been aware?
Mhm.
And I thought, well, look, I don't know it because I've been aware, I know it because I feel refreshed and I woke up all night. That's how I know. That's probably part one.
Is this, you can apply this to what we've been doing tonight?
And
Yeah, can you, does this moment disappear in deep sleep? If what you are, if you ask the question, what am I? The deepest answer to that question is going to be this moment. It's the only permanent answer. Is that gone in deep sleep when your body and your...
I couldn't answer that really, can I? I don't know. I'm not conscious of deep sleep. This is what I'm trying to get at, really.
But the body and mind must still be appearing inside something, even if they're asleep. Let's look at it another way. How you said that there's no awareness during deep sleep,
Right.
but is that actually the ultimate truth?
I don't know. I'm trying to find out.
What is absent during deep sleep that is here in the waking state? It might be easier to contrast them. Right now, there's a sense of time and space.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's a sense of phenomena, objects. Your senses are taking in stimuli. Is that sense of time and space and phenomena, is that present still in deep sleep?
No.
How can you answer that? You're very correct, of course, but how do you know that if there is no awareness? How could you tell me how it is for you in deep sleep? And notice the contrast between when the waking state comes back. Even in the dream state at night time, there can be a sense of time. I could feel like I've gone on a long journey.
I get that, yeah. It's out. So
the difference is in deep sleep, there's no sense of time, no distance, no world, no phenomena, no body, no thoughts, no emotions. All of it's disappeared, hasn't it, for that time?
Yes.
But something knows that. Yes, you need the waking state to tell me that, but there is a knowingness that can recognize that even while the body's in deep sleep. The fact that you can tell me now means something was conscious and aware for that whole 8 hours that I was asleep, or for most of it. You know, it might be dreams, you know.
5 hours, yeah.
For that whole time, there was no time or space. You know, there was no phenomena, there was nothing, nothing at all.
There was nobody there aware of it either. That's what I'm trying.
No separate self aware of it. But even to say there was no separate self means something was watching. Something is now reporting back to me through your waking state, telling me when the body sleeps in deep sleep, the personal self is gone, awareness of the body is gone, awareness of sense perception is gone, all of this world, the phenomena, everything has gone.
Because I've no recollection of it, that's why, isn't it? Isn't that because I've no recollection of it?
If there is something knowing, it's enough to recognize that there must be something that knows, even in deep sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, and to recognize the difference between deep sleep and the waking state. What is absent? There's only timelessness present in deep sleep. Time wakes up in the morning again, and distance and depth perception and objects and all of that. You know, thoughts wake up, and the separate self seemingly wakes up. You know, the sense of someone. All of that you've clearly said it several times in this conversation, even that all of that is gone in deep sleep.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not perceivable in deep sleep. It's gone.
Right.
So something must know, even in deep sleep, to be able to tell me that. Something must.
Can't get my head around that one.
You don't have to. That's the good
No, I
news.
know you're right. Okay.
You don't have to, yeah. Just to want to know, what is it that knows that? What is it that can perceive the difference between waking, dreaming, and deep sleep? Because we can sit here now and tell the differences between those three, which we've just kind of done. Something is knowing the difference between them. Therefore, it is already before. It's already in front. Already not involved in those states, just watching. It might be a good question to stick with. What is it that's watching even deep sleep?
Yeah, well, then I go to death. If I don't know about deep sleep, what happens when it's death? You just don't know. No, don't know.
You can stay with this question, you'll find out. Just because experiencing stops, just because experiencing stops, as in me here experiencing an emotion or a thought or something going on out there, doesn't mean that mind says that if experiencing stops, that's death. But experiencing stops every night in deep sleep.
That's right.
Even if you drift off and go into a deep state while you're listening, you stop experiencing. There's no separation in your experience. So it cannot be the same as death or non-existence is the other thing mind says.
Right. Okay.
Perhaps a good area to put your focus on.
Oh, enough going on at the moment. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Okay, we will leave it there for tonight then. Lovely. Thank you very much for joining me. Namaste.